Hello, everyone. I hope everything worked all right. I hope you guys can hear me. If you hear me, maybe drop me a little message in our live chat so I know that everything is all right. And yes, great to see you here. Hi from Belgium. Hi to Belgium. Yeah, I just thought I'm gonna start. I made some little notes here because it's my first live that I'm doing alone, so I'm as well a little bit nervous. But since all of you guys are so nice, there's nothing to worry about. So I wanted to do this live chat because there are always so many questions, and I thought I use this opportunity to go a bit deeper into these questions and tell you what I have been up to and what I'm up to in the next time. And I will start with one question that is actually regarding one of my last journeys. Because there has been many questions about the West Africa trip and if that will ever continue and how I got my fox back from West Africa. Because many of you already saw that I did the review of the Tenere 700. And yeah, that means that the fox was back in Germany and Switzerland. And how did I get it back? It was actually a very long and very stressful procedure. For those of you who might be more new to my channel, maybe just to update you what I'm talking about, I actually was starting this YouTube channel, I think more or less exactly a year ago. And since then, I have been posting a video each week, each Thursday, every week. And the first journey that I was posting videos about was my journey where I planned to circumnavigate Africa. And I had planned to do that in several stages. And my first stage of this West Africa trip was from Europe to Benin. And I started this journey in November 1919 and ended it in February 2020. And I was supposed to fly back to my motorcycle in April, so only 2 months later. But I guess all of you know what happened then. Then Corona hit the world, and I unfortunately couldn't continue this journey. And yeah, the bike was stuck in Benin. And actually, for a very long time, it was a very hard decision for me because for a very long time, I really hoped that I could continue this journey. And in the beginning of Corona, I thought maybe all of this will be over in a few weeks, but then it turned out that it wasn't. And so I tried to make some other plans, like the Expedition North that I did then with my travel partner later in 2020. But yes, it pretty soon turned out that the borders in West Africa would not open anytime soon. And those of you who have been traveling on a motorcycle know that there are always a lot of custom formalities that you have to do when you're entering new countries. In West Africa, you need a document that's called Carnet de Passage. And I actually might do a video about these documents at one point because it's actually quite interesting what you need to travel some countries. But so, yeah, we had this Carnet de Passage, and this Carnet de Passage is a custom document, and you pay a deposit for your motorcycle in your home country, and then you go traveling, and you kind of like stamp your carnet in every country that you go. And if you leave the country, you stamp again. And this carnet is valid for 1 year. And if you don't get the exit stamp until the carnet expires, the country that your vehicle's in can demand your country for this deposit that you paid. And in my case, you actually pay a lot of money. So in my case, that was 5,000 euros. That was with the German Automobile Club. And I, of course, didn't want to lose that money. So I realized I have to get out my motorcycle from West Africa before my carnet expires, which would have been in November 2020. So I decided, okay, I need to get that motorcycle back, and my travel partner did the same decision. And we said, okay, let's try to get them back as fast as possible, because back those days we were still hoping that we would maybe get them in time for the Expedition North. because normally as soon as you kind of like find your shipping company and get your motorcycle shipped, it's not that long a journey. It takes about, I think, 2 weeks from getting it on the boat to arriving in the harbor. So it's not like endlessly long. So we decided, I think, in mid-June that we would ship back the motorcycles. And then the whole procedure started. And it was a very long procedure. We luckily found a guy who was in Benin too with his girlfriend, and they had a Land Rover and wanted to ship it back too. So we decided to rent a container together on a ship and ship it back together to minimize costs. And all this procedure, I don't want to tell you all the details that we went through, but all this procedure did take so unbelievable long. We started in June. In September, we kind of like were like, okay, let's really get it done before our carnets expire. And in the end, the motorcycle was back it actually arrived in Belgium, in Antwerp, I think. It was back in Belgium in November, I think 1 week before my carnet expired. So that was crazy long, and that was a huge hassle. And that's why I as well decided I will not continue this Africa journey and circumnavigating Africa before I really know that one of the coasts, either the west coast or the east coast, is completely open again, and all the borders are just like you can drive through, because I really don't want to have this hassle again to have like a vehicle that is stuck in a country, and it's of course as well quite expensive to get these vehicles back. So that is the story of the Tenere and how it got back. And I'm very, very happy that I have it now back in Europe, and hopefully go with it on my next journey. And now we're already on this right topic, the next journey. And before I tell you more, I will tell you it is not on my Fox, not on my white and red Yamaha Tenere 700, because the next destination took me to another country. And I will reveal the country now, and then I will tell you more about why I am here and how all of this came together, because it was kind of like very spontaneous, and it's a bit exciting for me that we could travel here after all this Corona mess. So yeah, I am currently in the United States of America. I'm in the US, and I'm as well currently traveling. I am doing a cross-country trip from Los Angeles to Miami. And I want to be very transparent with you guys. And I have already been in the United States for nearly 3 months now. So I have been here for quite a while. And as well, this journey that I'm on is actually nearly over. And maybe I have not said that on YouTube yet, but some of you guys as well, I think, follow me on Instagram. And I have told my followers there many times. For me, it's very important when I travel to really have the time to enjoy the journeys myself. And I realized if I'm always like posting live from my journeys, it takes a lot away from my actual like enjoying the trip and being like in the moment of traveling. So I at one point decided that I'm not like live sharing from my journeys anymore, but that I share everything later. So I always travel first, and then I share the content with you, because that as well gives me time to decide what I want to share, how I want to share it, and if I want to share it. Because I think sometimes it's as well, when you travel, you have like some moments that, even if it's mean for you, but sometimes you really want to keep these moments to yourself, and maybe not share them with other people. And some moments as well are so incredible that you think like, wow, they are so like majestic and so great that I really want to share them with many people. and have many people like seeing them too. And then I as well somehow need the time to really prepare them in the way so you guys can get like a similar feeling to what I had. So for me, this process always takes a little bit of time. That's why I'm always posting late. So actually, this journey here is nearly over at this time that I'm speaking with now. I am actually flying back to Germany next week. So this is really the end of it. And yeah, but how did this even start and why did I decide to come here? And it's actually a very kind of like long story that I wanted to share too, because I think it's very important, especially in times of Corona, to share these stories and to not do any journeys that are maybe not really necessary. So for me, it was a very actually difficult time, I think, since we returned from the expedition north, because my travel partner has an autoimmune disease. And so he is very, I mean, he would get very affected if he would get corona. So we have really been super, super careful and trying to avoid to get the sickness, which for me as well meant I really didn't see anyone inside. I didn't meet my parents for Christmas. I was very much at home. I really took care about all that stuff. And I know some people didn't do that, and I think everybody can live their life. But for me, that was just important to make sure that I don't infect anyone who I love. So I really lived a very remote life, I think, since September to basically February. And then, luckily, my travel partner got vaccinated because he has this autoimmune disease. He was one of the first groups that got vaccinated in Switzerland. And that was already super great because for me, that felt like, okay, at least he cannot like get this disease anymore. So that was a big relief. And so my travel partner has a lot of family in the US. He lived here for many years and he has not seen his whole family since the beginning of Corona. So he at one point said like, hey, I really want to see my family again. His company has as well an office here in Miami. And so he said, maybe I will just go to the US and stay there a few months and work from there. And do you want to come? And I said, I don't know. I don't know if I want to take the risk of the flight. And I will not take the risk of the flight for just such a short visit, but having lived like this, like Corona avoiding life for such a long time. And so we looked into it. And it as well turned out that it's not so easy to just go to the US from Europe if you're not a United States citizen at the moment, because you still can't enter the US if you're coming directly from Europe, which is the only way to to go to a country from where you can enter the US, which is, for example, Mexico. So you basically have to go to Mexico first, stay 2 weeks in Mexico, and then travel to the United States. And then you're allowed to enter if you did this 2 weeks quarantine in another country where you can travel to the US from. So it was like clear from the beginning that this undertaking, if he really wants to go to the US and if I want to join him, is not like a journey of like a few weeks. That this will be quite like a longer thing to do. And so we decided at one point, he decided that he wants to do it, and I decided that I will join him and that I take the risk of this one flight that is basically the flight to Mexico and then the second flight to the US to come here and to be here. And so we have been in the US basically since March. Yeah, since March, more or less. And first we were 2 weeks in Mexico in the Yucatan Peninsula. And then we went to the US and we have both been working here from Miami for, I think, 1.5 months or so. And then I decided that I want to use this time here. And I actually, the first thing that I actually did when I came to the US was getting vaccinated, because they were very good with the vaccinations here. And since we rented an apartment here in Miami, it was possible for me as well to get a vaccination here in Florida, which for me was a huge relief. And I hope I don't want to have any comments here about if you want to get vaccinated or not, or if you think it's good or not. And I don't want to have any fights about it here on my channel. I will delete those right away. But for me, this was important. And for me, this was a big relief to get this vaccination. So yes, after I got this vaccination, I felt like more possible to travel again. And then I decided I want to do a cross-country trip. And since I have friends and as well family in Los Angeles, I said, okay, maybe I could ride from Los Angeles to Miami and keep a bit more in the south, because when I started a few weeks ago, it was still kind of like cold in all like northern states. So it was pretty clear that I have to stay a bit more on the southern route on this trip. Yeah, so then I decided to take this journey. But since this was such a spontaneous decision, I, of course, didn't have a motorcycle. And yeah, then the question was, how can I get a motorcycle for this journey? I planned about, I think, like to travel about like 5 weeks for this cross-country trip. And I started to look into rentals, which were unbelievably expensive. So I would have had to pay, I think, like 4,500 euros for that amount of time that I wanted to spend on the road, which is, of course, crazy. And I immediately said, okay, no, that I will not do. And then I tried to ask some companies if they maybe can give me like a press bike or like a motorcycle so I can do this trip. But unfortunately, most companies already, that's of course clear too, they always, like in the spring, all the motorcycle journalists come and ride the bikes. So most of them already had like booked out their whole fleet. So I couldn't get a bike from that either. Then I thought, okay, maybe I buy a motorcycle, and started to look into second-hand motorcycles. Second-hand, I don't even know if you say that, used motorcycles. And thought in the beginning I maybe buy a GS 800 or something like that, because it's quite comfortable. And as well, normally BMWs have a very good reselling price. So I plan to buy it and then resell it in the end of the journey. And then I realized that they are still quite expensive. Like a newer BMW 800 GS was actually more expensive than a brand new Yamaha Tenere 700 would have been. So I then thought, like, if I have to decide, I would rather like to travel on a Tenere anyways. So why not trying to get a Tenere? Then it turned out that most Yamaha dealers at the moment are very short on stock. Do you say that? There are not many Teneres here at the moment, because I think there were some like delivery issues. So it was not so easy to get like a new Tenere to buy here. And that's actually where I, for the first time, tried to get some help through connections. And I asked someone from Yamaha Germany, who I have been in contact with before I went on my Westafrica trip, if they can maybe give me a contact to Yamaha US, and if they maybe have like a motorcycle for me and to buy. And yeah, then I got this contact, and we talked to Yamaha US. And the great thing is they sold me Yamaha Tenere from their fleet. And that is, of course, was super great, because I had like a motorcycle I love and that I love to travel on. And yes, it's completely crazy, but I bought another Yamaha Tenere 700. And to not confuse you guys so that you can still see the difference between this one and my beloved Fox. I took it in color black. And actually now I'm so in love with this black motorcycle that I'm a bit regretting that I didn't take it in black either when I was in Germany buying it. But yeah, that's how it is. So yeah, now I have been traveling on this Yamaha Tenere, and I guess I have to as well say thank you, Yamaha, for making this possible and getting me like a bike in time, since this was such a spontaneous idea to do this cross-country trip. And yeah, that was for me really like, I don't know, dream come true to do this US journey here again. And yeah, so the journey starts in Los Angeles, and I don't want to spoil it too much because the videos will start here in the next weeks. And but I started in Los Angeles. In the beginning, I was riding with my travel partner and another friend, actually only for a day. And my travel partner and another pillion that he had joined me until Utah. And then we unfortunately had a little incident, and I continued alone from Utah on. And so I traveled quite a few weeks alone on this journey, which I as well enjoyed a lot because I have not been traveling alone for quite a while. And I think you will really like the content. Unfortunately, I had to rush through the US a little bit faster than I thought because Germany is now opening up again too, and I have some work things to do in June. So I had to be back earlier than I thought. But it was and is still an awesome trip, and I can't wait to show you all the material that I took. And yes, so how does it continue here on the channel? I already said it before, I have done one video each week and basically a year. And it has been awesome that we could grow this community to like 40,000, 45,000 people meanwhile, which is unbelievable cool. And yeah, but from next week, I think I will take a little break for 2 to 3 weeks because I need to sort out some things. I need to sort out the next material. Due to traveling, I really didn't have time to do any editing. And I as well want to prepare the material that I now took properly. So I guess next week and the week after next week, there will probably be no videos. I'm very sorry. And then here on the channel, it will start with Mexico videos. That's why I as well wanted to do this YouTube live here because I wanted to kind of like prepare you guys for what's about to come. And so you're not wondering like, what is that stuff that's like happening here now? And I think I did about, still have to sort the material, so I don't know exactly, but I think it will be about like 3 videos from Mexico. And they will be without motorcycle, but they will be with adventuring and some cool things I did there and saw. So I think you will enjoy them a lot too. And actually very beautiful scenery. I think you might get a little bit jealous because it was really pretty nice places that I saw there. And then after the 3 Mexico videos, I will start with this material from this motorcycle cross-country journey through the US. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I think there will be like something for everyone in there. There will be nice off-roading in some parts. There will be even riding on the interstate for quite a while through like the more flat places like Texas and Florida. There will be incidents, accidents, some not so nice things that happened, some fantastic locals that I met. So I think you will enjoy it a lot when it's the time. And yeah, now I'm pretty much told you everything that I wanted to tell you. If someone has some questions, now would be the time to ask them, because I could now answer them, and I will look if there is anything coming, and if not, we will probably meet again here in 2 weeks when I'm starting with the Mexico content. And yeah, someone is asking, you finished your trip yet? I'm confused. Yeah, I didn't finish it quite yet, so I'm still on the trip, but I will finish it next week. And yeah, that's how it is. I already sneakily traveled without all of you guys, and I will share it with you later, like I always do. I'm very sorry, but I think that's just how I like to travel, and how I like to produce my content, because for me it's really important that I still see these journeys as my journeys, and that I still do them out of pleasure and out of joy, and not because I'm thinking about which content I want to produce and how I want to share it with anyone. I think that's, I always like, was one of like the main things that I wanted to keep, like this joy when traveling, and not making it for the followers, or making it for people to watch it, or making it for someone else in the end. And that's basically how I can really keep them for me, if I kind of like enjoy them first by myself and then share them with you. And I'm very sorry that this is the case, and that might bring like some delays and some confusions, but I think that's as well why it's maybe not so stupid to do like a YouTube live every now and then, to just kind of like update you and tell you where I am exactly, and then start with the content of what I just experienced. Someone asked if I have ever met Itchy Boots Norali. Unfortunately not. We have traveled both in Scandinavia last year, but and we were in contact, but we just kind of like, our ways went like, she went like this and I went like this, and then it didn't turn out that we met. But I have met many other great riders, like Kinga from On Her Bike, and they are all pretty awesome, like female riders. And I don't want to spoil it too much, but there might be a reunion soon with some of the female riders around there. When am I coming back to Mexico? Unfortunately, not that quick, I think, but you guys will have the chance to see all the Mexican content here on YouTube in about 2 weeks. How was the Tiger compared with the Tenere? Andre asks. That is a good question. I actually love both motorcycles. I as well still own the Tiger, because sometimes people ask me, where's Cleo? Because I as well have like this very special connection to my first, it's actually not my first motorcycle, it was my second motorcycle, but to the motorcycle that I did my road trip with, Cleo, which is a Tiger 800 XCA. And I still love this motorcycle. And I know that many people didn't have that experience, but to me it was super reliable. I basically didn't have any issues with that bike, and the only thing is that I find it much more, I mean, it is much more heavy than the Yamaha Tenere 700. I would more put, like, for example, the Tiger and the Honda Africa Twin and the GS 800. They are like more like one category of bikes, and the Yamaha Tenere, in my opinion, is kind of like another category of bike, because it's just much more lightweight. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. What I can, will I drive BMW again? I'm sure I will drive BMW again. I really like BMW bikes. I enjoyed the trip north on the 1200 GS, but I as well have to admit I would not take a BMW bike, and as well, especially not a 1200 GS on a long journey, because for me they're just too heavy, and there's like all these electronics going on. if I imagine to be somewhere in like West Africa or so, and the bike breaks down, or just like the keyless ride is broken, or I lose the key, like I did on the Expedition North, that's just not so much fun. So for me, the BMWs are fantastic bikes if I ride in Europe and on like European mountain roads, but for me personally, I really prefer the Yamaha Tenere 700 a lot. And so, where are you in Florida? I am in many places in Florida actually, because my journey is now coming to an end, and I drove now along the coast here, and so I have been in many places, but for the longer stay that I had before starting to traveling, I was in Miami, which was very interesting and very fun, because it's a very funny and very colorful city as well. Yeah, I try to see a few more questions. BMW has the best marketing though. Yeah, that can be. I don't know. Yeah, someone is asking me here, Key West, if I've been to Key West. I don't know if that's the question, but there will be coming, but that will only come in the far end, I think, of this America trip. There will be coming about an episode about riding to Key West, and the motorcycle I'm doing it on will be a big surprise, because it's a motorcycle that you have not seen here on the channel, and it's not my Yamaha Tenere 700. And something that I forgot to tell you, because I initially planned to sell my Yamaha Tenere. That was like the whole plan, about like buying the motorcycle and then reselling the motorcycle, because I thought that's like how I can keep my costs the lowest, in just like buying this bike and then reselling it as soon as I'm on the destination of my travels. And the problem was, now I fell so much in love with the motorcycle here with my Yamaha Tenere, and I as well really like the United States a lot. And since my travel partner has like this very close connection to the United States, and I as well have many friends here, even like childhood friends of mine who live here, and who I visit anyways, like every 1 or 2 years. I now decided that I will keep the Yamaha Tenere here in the US for another year. So we will see what happens. I have no plans yet when I'm going to return, or if I'm going to return. I think it depends as well on the Corona situation. But since I now drove so much with it anyways, and maybe as well dropped it like one or the other time, I decided that it probably doesn't harm the bike if it's a year older, or if I sell it now immediately. So I decided to keep it. I can keep it with my travel partner's family here in Miami. So I have no costs there with keeping it. So this bike will stay in the United States and registered on me for another year. And then I will decide what to do with it. So that's very exciting for me too. I really own another motorcycle here now. Can you believe that? It's very weird, and maybe it's just money like laying around. And but actually, I really think it doesn't matter so much if I sell it now or if I sell it next year, and maybe do another little journey on it before I get rid of it again. Yeah. Um, Key lime pie. Oh, I love key lime pie. For every one of you who has not tried it yet, it's a very delicious cake that is, I think, originates here, as you say, from Key West in Florida. And it's really super delicious. I love it. I think you might see it in one of my videos even, because I, of course, had a lot of key lime pie. Is your travel partner your boyfriend? That remains, that is a big secret. You can think what you want to think, but if you want to have some more hints, you should really buy my book. It's called Got to Go. You can see the last video, and there are all the links to it, because there might be some more hints about the personality and about the life of my travel partner. What's my next destination going to be? First to US, but I will return after this trip. After I finish this trip now soon, I will return to Germany and to Europe. And I really think that I will very likely not leave Europe anytime soon again, because I still feel a bit weird with the corona situation and with flying and traveling too much. So I think I will stay in Europe, and maybe if I have time, I have to work a little bit when I'm back. But if I have time, I might do another journey in Europe. And but I guess that you will see here on the channel at what point too, if that is the case. If the Tiger was more comfortable than a Tenere, yeah, actually, I would say, I mean, for doing like long stretches on the like highway, I would say maybe it was more comfortable because the seat is just wider. But I like the Tenere, and because you can move around on it a lot. And I mean, I drove it now as well without the sheepskin that I have on my Westafrica Tenere, and just with a standard seat. Somehow I didn't find it uncomfortable this time at all when I drove it. But maybe I as well just got used to it. I didn't have like the issues with like having like a little bit of like irritation from the places where my butt sits on the seat, which I had the first time. I don't know why. This time I really liked the Tenere, and really, I mean, I liked it last time too, but this time I really found it very comfortable. Someone asked which paper maps for your trips. I actually don't use that many paper maps. I only use paper maps in countries where it's good to have like an overview. I bought, for example, maps for West Africa when I was there, just because for me it's sometimes better for route planning if I have it laying out for me. And actually for the US, I bought a few paper maps which I barely used. I bought the paper maps of the from Butler of the back, how is it called? Backcountry discovery routes or roads? Backcountry discovery routes. And I can highly recommend these maps because they have like really like the best off-road stretches and the best off-roading. And there are maps of those available, I think, for all like the countries like New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, Arizona. And they're really amazing. And I bought all of them, but I barely used them because you will see then in the videos what happened. There were quite some things that went a bit wrong. So I couldn't do as many things as I thought. Someone asked, how do you support yourself economically? I actually would like you to suggest to watch a video that we once did. I once did a live video. You can find it on my YouTube homepage, start page. If you scroll far down, there are like 4 live chats, and I did this live chats with Kinga from On Her Bike, with Nora from Adventurism, and with Egle. And we talked about how we financially afford to travel, and yeah, how we travel and where we get the money from in this live video. And it's actually, I think, 1 hour or 1.5 hours. So if you really want to know more about this topic, watch this video, because that's much more than I can say now. And as well, there are so many different views, because, for example, how Kinga travels is very different than how I travel, because I try to travel like 2 to 4 months a year, and I work the rest in Germany. So that's basically what I do. And in this video, you can see like all the different like concepts of traveling and how to afford to be on the road. What about Africa? Will you continue this journey? I think I said that already in the beginning. I want to continue it, but only as soon as all the borders are open. So I think not before 2022. Yeah, someone asked soft or aluminium panniers. There I can tell you the same answer. Actually, we did like a live chat once with all the other girls, that you can find in my profile if you scroll very far down about all of our gear, and we talked about that topic too. I have soft panniers are much better for your safety. There is no question about that. Much better, much more safe. But I still travel with aluminium panniers because just my travel setup, it doesn't require it, but for me it's just more comfortable because I'm used to travel like that. I have my laptop and most of my camera gear in one of my side panniers. And if I would switch to soft panniers, I would have to change around everything because then I couldn't have like the things that like camera and so on in one of the side panniers. Because if you fall on the soft luggage, they are as well, of course, not as protective. That's why I still ride with the hard aluminium panniers, even though I know it's not that good and not that safe. Someone asked me what kind of ear protection do you use when riding long stretches on the bike. I just made this helmet comparison 2 weeks ago, and I show it there actually. I use in-ear phones. I think I'm just looking if I have them somewhere here. Unfortunately not. I use in-earphones from a brand called Shure. I don't know if I pronounced that right. It's called Shure. And they're little in earphones. You wear them very weirdly. You put them in and put the cable over your ear, and they are noise isolating, and they're actually made for studios. So normally, like really good musicians, they use them when they're producing in their studios. That's why their quality of sound is amazing. And I have not come over anything like them ever. So that's why I love them so much. But I'm as well not wearing any. I'm not having any intercom or any communication system in my helmet. So if I ride with my travel partner, we don't communicate while we're riding because we both want to have our peace and be alone in our head. So everyone who is having a communication system, this in earphones might not be the right solution. Do you ever use hammocks? Was there much camping in this trip? I'm interested in all of it. I actually think that hammocks are like uh, they are like the weirdest thing on earth. I think hammocks, they like promise to be very comfortable, and I just don't find them comfortable. I think hammocks are just like uncomfortable as nothing. I don't like them at all. So no, hammocks not for me, but I camped on this trip. Unfortunately, not that often because after I camped, there happened as well something on this trip. And you will see that in my videos. And that's why I chose to stay in motels and hotels afterwards. But you will see that. And yeah, the camping that I did on this trip was absolutely amazing. I love the United States for camping. It's like the best place to camp. And yeah, I'm a bit sad that I couldn't camp more, but I at least camped once. And I hope that on the next journey, there will be more camping because it's just the best thing to do if you want to be close to the nature and close to, like, I mean, it's just super nice. If it's cheaper to compare to travel as a woman as a male, I don't think so. Why should it be cheaper? You think people invite me? Unfortunately, not. I mean, sometimes, but I think you basically have the same costs. I mean, everybody still has to pay for their spares, for their petrol, for their food, and I actually as well have the philosophy I really don't want to be invited too much, especially by locals and especially in countries where people maybe don't earn as much money as I do in Germany. So I always try to, I really love to be like with local guides, for example. I often do that. I go somewhere and as you maybe saw as well in my world trip video, I love it, for example, to go to Kyrgyzstan and then go on like a horseback safari with a guide. Or like we did in West Africa to go like on this boat trips with these local guides and so on. And Guide Mustafa, for those of you who saw the video, is one of my favorites. And yeah, I think that's very important. And because that is like really how you can, I think, as well, travel much more sustainable in going to places and really being as well willed to kind of like pay the locals for what they are doing for you. And so I really try to avoid to go somewhere and always be invited or like trying to live like super cheap. So for me, it's important to kind of like have the money before I go traveling. So I don't need to live like on a zero budget, and I as well can like pay the locals who show me around and who guide me and who kind of like give me their knowledge for what they're doing, because that's their job, and everybody should be paid for the good job that they are doing. So that's my opinion, and that's why I as well think for me as a female traveler, it's not really cheaper to travel than as a male traveler. Yeah, banana hammock only. Okay, I think someone is still asking, do you listen to music while you're riding? I'm really listening to a lot of music while I'm riding because I have this fantastic in earphones. I listen to music. I as well listen to audiobooks a lot. So whenever I get like on a longer highway or interstate or autobahn stretch, I basically turn on the audiobook because that keeps me awake if I can follow like a story or something. So I usually go through a lot of books while I'm riding. And I don't listen to music. I still have in ears most of the time to protect my ears, but I mostly don't listen to any music or something if I ride off road, because then I feel I need my concentration. But to be honest, even on like very curvy like alpine roads, I basically always listen to music, because that for me just makes, I don't know, it makes like the whole experience um, like a all surround experience with having your right soundtrack and the motorcycle and the wind and the curves, and it's just very beautiful. So I I think that was more or less it. Um, I hope that all of you guys like this. We're already 48 minutes in. That's actually much longer than I thought this would be. I hope I answered some of your questions. I couldn't go through all of the live chat now. And yeah, so very soon you will see the Mexican videos here. Don't be sad if there is no video next week, and as well probably the following week. So I think I will be back here on the channel in about 2 or 3 weeks. And like always, I will write a little like story here and in like the community part to tell you when the next video will be online. I will as well share that on Instagram and on Facebook, so you guys know when it's the time to tune in again. And meanwhile, for all of you who have not done it yet, I can highly recommend to watch the West Africa series if you have not seen those yet. I can as well highly recommend to tune in from Mauritania. The first videos are maybe not that great because that was the first videos I ever edited. And I think I had a pretty steep learning curve in editing videos. So the later the videos get, the better they are. But Mauritania is one of my favorite videos still that I ever cut. And as well, the video that I already mentioned with Guide Mustafa in TY Island. It's one of my favorite encounters, I think, on the most recent journeys. So if you have not seen that yet, tune into the West Africa videos. So hope to see all of you soon. And thanks for joining this video and this live chat, and take care about you. And now we all got to go. Goodbye.